Sorry,
Word.
I should check with you.
No, we're good now.
Okay.
Mr. Beggs,
Here.
Mr. McCormick,
Here.
Mr. Hardy,
Here.
Mr. Erickson,
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from March 13th, 2025.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second. Hardy.
Good. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I don't know if anybody else thinks March 13th seems like it was an awful long
It
time
does.
ago, but. All right, with that, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Very good.
Any changes to the agenda? We need to change the agenda for that item we spoke of
No,
earlier.
we're just doing.
All right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion. Hardy.
Support Walker.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Any public comment? Thank you for joining us this morning. Any public comment? No, you've been gone and you don't have anything to say?
The last meeting we were at was March 13th.
Oh, was it? Okay. Well, it doesn't seem all that long ago. All right.
We're happy to be home.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
They're practically, they're neighbors of mine, so.
We'll do the.
Yeah, that's great. Mr. Stockhill, we have a Life EMS quarterly report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Again.
I was here a little bit early.
Better than late.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So this quarter, we did 584 responses for ambulance service to the residents and visitors here. Oddly, this is, it's 72 below what we did the same time period last year, and oddly, looking at Nuevo County and Mason County, we've seen a significant uptick in the first quarter, where this seems to be an anomaly where it's a downward trend. Not sure what the thing is, it's just an anomaly at this point. We hope it picks up a little bit this summer, which it should. Staffing remains really solid here. We've had some people leave, and we've got people waiting to move here. We will be challenged a bit this summer with long-term workman's comp injury, as well as somebody going off on maternity here in about a month. But we've got, I think we've got the staff in place to cover it. People are actually looking at other counties now for overtime, so that's a good thing for here. We do have two paramedics. One returns to us. He was a deputy fire chief in the city of Muskegon for a number of years. Probably 10 years ago, worked for us in Mason County. He's bored with his retirement, so he wants to come back and work here full time. We also hired a brand new paramedic that worked for ProMed for Trinity EMS. And the big change that we're seeing is that Oceana County was the last one that we really went into this field training and evaluation program that is very rigid in the standards that they hold, and it's really, we've seen a huge benefit in what we're accomplishing during their training period, as far as making sure there are daily evaluations done, and they're evaluated both subjectively and objectively, and they've got to meet certain standards. And we look at an experienced one. If they're coming in, they've been experienced working in the area, we can knock this out probably a month and a half. But for a brand new paramedic, it'll be between 6 and 12 months. I'm happy to report that the former fire chief, Gordy Cole from Muskegon, very solid individual, and they're like, you'll be good to go here really quick. And the other one, they're very impressed with her as well, as far as her skills and reaction time on calls. So we're very pleased with that. Our 45th anniversary was back in February. On the 21st, there was an open invitation for people as well as their families to come and get tickets to a Griffins game. We had a meal served right inside the Van Andel as well for us, and it's unbelievable for me, who's been with the company 36 years, to see that. And when I look around, and it didn't seem like that many, maybe 100 or 150 people, and I'm like, so how many tickets do we to it, it's amazing. I mean, our company's over 700, right around 700 employees right now. It fluctuates up and down just a little bit, but from where it was when I started back in 1988, it's a huge difference. We did add some additional equipment beyond what the state requires us. There's Stop the Bleed kits. It's a small package that they could deploy. All the fire departments are carrying them under the rescue task force. We decided that in addition to what we have, it'd be nice to have them on our vehicles as well, just so they can grab one small kit in an active assailant type situation. And currently, we've got about 90% of the electric force shifts filled without me, so I'll be plugging myself in for a little bit of them. But I just was on the phone call with a supervisor from my Ionia operation this morning. He goes, "Hey, do you have any shifts open?" I'm like, "Matter of fact, I do." So again, we did reach out to Montcalm County. They've been solid partners with us, and they're covering right now 5 shifts for us. So that's amazing to get that many people on a weekend in the summer. People don't have to do it. 11 requests for fire standbys and just over 10 hours of coverage for them. And we did transport one back to Montcalm for those scenes as well. I am amazed because I was concerned about the placement of the ferry station. To see when I actually got the gross numbers out, Jim and I both looked at it and said, that can't be right. That can't be right. And then talking with the supervisors this winter, they were shocked at how many calls the ferry station was actually running. And so I think our compliance is probably the best that it's been. And hopefully that continues, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think we're coming into the season where it'll really test it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have to see what this brings us and how we can adjust to it if we need to. Were there any questions with the report itself?
Jeff, I noticed and I smiled when a good friend of Life EMS just was accepted a new position with Coldwell Health. Dr. Koonstra, was it? He was the director of emergency medical services. And now he's vice president over the hospitals in West Michigan, or president of the hospitals in West Michigan. Is that correct?
Correct. I believe so. I know he was just moved up in that position. I've only met the man a couple of times. So.
Well, I had the pleasure of being with he and Mark at the Electric Forest.
A year or two ago, yeah.
Yeah, and it was pretty interesting watching somebody who was director of emergency room services for Corwell, or Spectrum at the time it was, talking to the ER doctor who was in your facility at the Electric Forest from Tennessee, and I forget his last name. Small, short, older gentleman, probably my age. When I say older, they're all my age. But it was interesting because they were talking about triage and how you do things, in the full-fledged emergency room, and what you do there. And the Dr. Koonstra, I think that was his name, was saying, "Boy, you people really do that here if it comes up too." So.
Yeah, the Rock Doc is what they call the guy. I can't remember what his actual name is. The guy that comes to Electric Force year after year after year. He's been doing that. Was there any
other questions?
I have one, Jeff, and this is not with the report. I just a quick question regarding did you guys make a decision on the CAD software for 911? Is that still?
It's still there on Mark's desk. It's a bit of a frustration for me. It's a lot bigger frustration for Jim.
Yeah, I know we didn't have a 911 meeting last month. I was just kind of curious.
We're pushing it as hard as we can push it from our side, is what I can tell you.
Great, thanks.
Yes.
Just on the report, you have exemption for requests for winter weather there's several of them on there. How does that get put on the report? Is it just from the driver's judgment, or where
There are
does it come
multiple
from?
ways they'll do it, like a winter storm day, it'll get flagged initially. And it'll get sent to us.
So then any calls
We
get
look
you
at-
automatically?
We go in our
targeted.
GPS and look at the speeds we were traveling, what else, because it's not just the response to that call. It's how long did we spend on that transfer to Muskegon, turning around and coming back, where we don't have vehicles available. It slows everything down and challenges the system, but we look at it from multiple angles, and one of the biggest things we do is what were their actual traveling speeds. We can go back in our GPS system, will ping them, and we can, there's like a breadcrumb trail that shows the routes they take, and we look at the speeds. We occasionally, will see them, we've been flagged, and we're like, they're going 65, 70 miles an hour. We're not gonna ask for that at that point. So there is several, things we go to, and Jim and myself are the final.
You guys
We'll
put
put
it-
in.
you
We
guys
actually
put it in.
review it, and then we'll submit that to, I cannot alter any of these pages here. I have to send that to somebody else to review. We'll present the case to them and say, this is what we see, and then they'll follow up. Typically follow our wishes because we're very diligent. Did that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
If you ever wanna see it, I'd be happy to show it to you.
Any other questions for Mr. Stockfield?
All right,
Sir,
thank you very much. Have a good day.
You
Yeah,
too.
you too.
Thanks, Jeff.
Inspired. Master Services Agreement.
So this is the, agreement with MGT. They are the ones that do our cost allocation plan. However, this particular agreement is for the Title 4D, which is through our front of the court and prosecutor's office. And we receive 66% of those costs in return with the reporting from MGT.
So this is kind of a standard agreement that we sign periodically. Any questions on that? Okay. Yeah.
Recommendation that we sign this?
Yes, please.
And the only reason I do that is she deals with it every day.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yep.
getting people, so.
All right. Moving on. Inspired Jury Board.
Yes, we received a request from the county clerk's office, with approval from the circuit court judge for a, person to replace Mr. John Wines on the jury board. And this is that request.
Okay. Mr. Walker.
Mr. Biggs, I have no objection to this person on the jury board, but I think it would be prudent for us to ask our legal counsel if there's any conflict whatsoever, because this person, you know, has an association with a member of the clerk's office. And the jury board goes through the clerk's office, realizing I just would feel more comfortable if we make sure there's no conflict with this. You know, and I realize that, the clerk reached out to the circuit judge and asked that question, but respectfully, the circuit judge is not our corporate counsel.
Right.
And, you know, I would feel more comfortable if we wait until our next meeting and just ask that question if there is. You know, I don't know the answer to it, unless somebody else has an opinion on, you know, any thoughts on it.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, again, it's, know who you're in the room. The question isn't with your character or anything like that. It's just a question of whether there's a conflict of interest.
And Noble, welcome, I'm glad you're here. I didn't even know who I was talking about when I said this. But this is not unusual for the chair to, if there's a question of any type, just, it's similar to what we did at our last meeting. You know, we asked for a legal, you know, just a quick legal advice from our corporate. So, You'd hate to have something sneak up on us later at the wrong time, you know.
We've submitted ourselves to plenty of, conflict of interest questions to our attorneys as well, so. Yeah, any other discussion? Do we have a consensus that's, I would concur that that's a good plan?
Great, and if we can ask the administrator to pop that question to legal, that would be, that we can.
I'd like to say he's a fine candidate.
Agreed. I don't think there's an issue with that, it's just sometimes public perception is a little bit different than our perception.
All right, so sounds like we have a consensus, Inspired, if you would, speak to the attorneys about that, maybe. Yeah, I guess include me, Mr. Walker, in a preview of the question before it's submitted. And, we can give that a thumbs up and send it on. Okay. All right, doesn't look like we have any department heads. I know the sheriff mentioned that, the sheriff's kind of double booked. He's got, I could be there too. There's a Dune community, Dune Access Community meeting, that's being held for kind of lakeshore communities, limited access, and then also there's a funeral, so, that's why we don't have any brown uniforms in here. They're scurrying around with lots of other responsibilities this morning, so, I believe, Mr. Maloney had, another meeting that he was at, so. With that, any public comment? A lot of heads shaking no. With that, we will adjourn courts and public safety.
Thank you, Ken.
Sure. Okay, I'd like to call for order of the Finance and Administration Committee, and then we have a roll call.
Mr. Beggs,
Here.
Mr. McCormick,
Here.
Mr. Hardy,
Here.
Mr. Erickson,
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Yeah, here.
I'd ask for approval of the meeting minutes from May 22nd, 2025.
I'll make motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Beggs, support by McCormick. Any questions, comments? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carried. Are there any changes to the agenda? Changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Beggs, support by,
Support.
thank you, Mr. McCormick. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Is there any public comment at this time for Finance and Administration Committee? Hearing none, we'll move on. Administrative yard, consideration a bench in memory of Mitch Johnson to be placed on the courthouse grounds.
So we had, Mr. Mitch Johnson's family reach out to us and ask if the county would consider allowing them to place a bench in his honor, on the courthouse grounds. He was a circuit court reporter with Oceana County. I put that years.
A lot of years.
Yes, for many years. It was 42 years of service to Oceana County, and so they are just asking for permission to place that on the courthouse grounds in his memory.
Questions?
I think it's wonderful. I've talked to Tom about it, a couple times, and I think it's fitting. Mitch and Valerie were pretty involved for all those years. And the Hart Fire Department. Mitch was a court recorder back when you did it with the shorthand machine, and it was quite a craft that Mitch handled.
What are you thinking about, Paul?
Well, we've talked about this interior courtyard. If we head in that direction, I think it would be safe there.
That's exactly what was going through my mind.
Yeah,
It'd
I
be a
think so,
safe
too.
spot for it, we wouldn't have, you know, the family, if something bad happened to it out on the regular lawn, the family would have, you know, hurt feelings and stuff, but if we put it in the courtyard,
Right next to Sears Crosby's Rock.
if you say so.
It's in there. Yeah, Mitch was pretty good. Mitch goes all the way back to Harold and Donlin and Judge Clubs.
Well, I believe he was here during my tenure.
Oh, yeah.
He just retired not too long ago.
Right. Great. All right, moving on, that must be our decision regarding voluntary benefits with Aflac.
Mr. Hardy,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Hardy, would it be okay that if we approve this with, the Building and Grounds Committee and the administrator picking a location for it?
I'm fine with that, yeah, absolutely.
I know one of the other discussions that, Bob and I had was also maybe, placing it near the sidewalk so that people could sit down next to the sidewalk, but if
Yeah, but
the courtyard is more than.
I feel more comfortable with
I
it.
feel more comfortable with the courtyard.
Well, and, you know, if you walk through the grass today, it's all marked off for, you know,
Right.
vendors. I mean, the complexion changes so much, and if you get your sunshades and you've got comfortable, you know, nice place to sit
We
out
do
there.
have the sunshades,
Mhm.
we've gotten those.
That's all, no, I think that's,
Let's let the Building and Grounds and the administrator pick a spot.
all right, now moving on.
All right, sorry about that. So I did ask Jessica to come in and talk about this a little bit. There has been some, issues with billing and being able to, oh, she's back there.
Yeah.
So if you wanna talk to this, I'm gonna let her explain, because her and Jana deal with this on a daily basis, so.
So ever since I started here 2 years ago, and we've been dealing with Aflac, we've had probably 4 different representatives. They're hard to get hold of. Just when you think you know one, they're gone, and you are told you have another one. And also the problem with Aflac is when our employees come in for help, they need, where do I go to file a claim? Who do I get a hold of? We can't act on their behalf because it's a singular, it's sold as an independent plan, so we can't help them even if we want to. We've had billing issues where people have signed up, our employees, our new hires will sign up, and we have to deduct for them, but we don't get any information from Aflac about how much to deduct until they start billing us for it. Well, once they start billing us for it, and we haven't been deducting, we have no money to pay them on this employee's behalf. The communication is terrible. They're a terrible company. We've never had any luck with them, so I would strongly urge you to allow us to make a switch.
Mr. Hardy?
yes, Mr. Walker.
I had Aflac for a long time, and I had good results with Aflac. And I know Aflac at one time had a very good program. If you were a contributor for 25 years, then you had you didn't have to pay anymore, they just carried you. And I'm disappointed to hear this about Aflac, but is it worthwhile for us to get a hold of somebody in the parent company, one of the supervisors or somebody, and ask that person to come right here and meet with our employees who have Aflac too, before we just change away from Aflac and go, look at another one? To ask Aflac if they can straighten it out, they probably can't.
Can I add to that too? All the people that have Aflac currently wouldn't lose their Aflac. They can continue with Aflac for as long as they want to, just the county won't be pulling it out of their check anymore.
No.
So if they wanted to keep Aflac, they just send them a check every month instead of us doing it for them. And to your point about getting a hold of somebody, I have called that place so many times. I've had our agent call them, and every time they call, it's somebody new, or they can't help us, or you know, it just, we've been chasing our tail for probably about a year, really heavy on them.
I'm not sure, is that a post-tax deduction or a pre-tax deduction?
It depends on what
Yeah.
benefit they're taking.
Yeah.
That's how it's determined.
Yes,
I don't know, this doesn't change the experience you're having. I use them at our shop for some stuff. I've had the same lady that's taken care of it for a number of years. Martina Bowman, that name ring a bell? I think she's in Traverse City. She drives at least once a year to come see me and deals with. So I don't know how their representative system works, but I don't have an answer for you, other than to say I've had decent luck. Some of the billing's been a little jacked up on one side of it, but it always ends up working out. But I'm also dealing with a lot less employees than you are, so there's a scale to
Sure.
To those issues. But
I guess, Mr. Hardy, for those people who want to stay with Aflac, we also need to reach out, even if just there's only a handful of people that stay with Aflac, and explain to Aflac that if this doesn't change, you know, we're gonna have to change, and we're gonna have to encourage all of our employees to change. There's got to be somebody along the line, and maybe Mr. Begg could reach out to his agent and ask who a supervisor is, you know, how far up the chain we can get to talk to. You know, nobody likes to be ignored, and I understand that. you know,
Sure.
And
it's a
I
lot
get
of work,
that.
especially when you don't get answers yet.
So the last issue that we had, again, we had a new representative. I've never laid eyes on her before. She's never stepped foot here. We were trying to get these employees that opted in for Aflac when they were new hires. It took 2 months. We are still waiting to get information from her, and that started back, I think, in February. And we're still waiting to hear from her. I email our agent all the time. I email our health insurance agent, because she's got some people that she knows, to try to get something out of them, and we're still waiting.
I had experience with them a long time ago, 20 years ago. The sales pitch is fantastic, meet with all the people, payroll deductions all set up, and they're gone. You can't talk to them, you got a problem, can't get hold of them. We run them off. But that was, like I said, it was 20 years ago.
And my thought on it is, if we can't get this cured within 2 weeks, then bring us something else that we can, bring us another carrier that we can offer it. But, you know, between now and our next meeting, let's, you know, see if we can do something. Sometimes if you know somebody, like Mr. Beggs has a relationship with somebody.
I actually just got an email from her about another issue. But I can understand that my employees have heard me say this more than once recently. I don't work this hard to give somebody else my money. And you know, like, service providers either provide a service or we move them down the road. Like, I'm not working this hard to give you my money. And so I understand that.
And the other issue with that is that, this is a voluntary benefit. This
Right.
is something that the county's doing voluntarily, and
We don't
our,
contribute at all.
and our employees are working really hard to make this voluntary benefit work, and we don't get anything back for that.
And you have to wonder what kind of service they're getting too. I mean, if we're getting the kind of service and we're sending the check, I don't know what kind of service our employees are getting, and I can't help them either because they won't talk to me. So there's nothing I can do to help them. And
Well, and there was a time, remember, I've had this stuff too, and Pat Fuller was selling it for quite a while, and then Diane Hansen, I think, was selling it for a while. That's how a lot of this territory got opened up, but I don't think Pat's working for him anymore in Lansing, and Diane's not doing it. And like you had said, it's a lot of rigmarole for a small benefit, and if it were timely and good, we wouldn't be talking.
Exactly.
You,
How many people do you have on that?
cut 8.
yeah, it's,
Okay, we're not dealing with more people than I
Right.
do.
I think just this last year, we had 2 people drop off because they weren't getting the kind of service that they expected. So, yeah, it's a small group of people, but I just feel like me, myself, that I'm doing a disservice to our employees because I can't help them. And I feel like I'm not sure that they're getting the kind of service that they're paying for.
At the same time that we're going through this hearing, there's only 8 employees. Why didn't you bring back another carrier?
We have one.
Yeah, there's
We
one in
have
the
one
packet.
ready, but we were just waiting for the board's blessing to make that conversion.
And I just went to Aflac's site, it said agent finder, I typed in her zip code, there's nobody in our area. So they didn't even send us to their Grand Rapids office. You know, that's, I guess you can't buy it if you, or zip code.
Just a quick question there.
Traverse City?
I think she comes from Traverse City area.
The main office is Grand Rapids.
Have we discussed this with those 8 employees that are on this yet, or if we?
No.
Okay.
No, because I guess my thought process was that once we made that decision, I mean, they're not being forced to get off it, they can continue, they just,
They won't get the automatic
It just
deduction,
won't
they
be-
have to
right,
pay
they'll
for
just
it.
have to pay for it
Okay.
themselves.
I can reach out to the lady here, you know, it should probably respond to me pretty quick. I'll just see if she has any advice or if it's an account she can take over. You know, I don't know that that's gonna fix the issues. I have very, you know, like I said, we meet with her once a year. I had a guy retire, that's what she just emailed me about, so she proactively contacted me, which is different. Not different, I mean, that's good service, at least, so, but I'm also not opposed to ditching the whole thing, and especially for 8 employees, like, I don't know that it matters, but.
And I get it that they can stay on. But do you think there should be some communication
Yeah,
with those
Oh,
employees that
absolutely,
we're,
absolutely.
that
Well,
we're
we wanna
looking
reach
at
out to her.
doing
I'll
this?
reach out to her, I'll forward contact information if it's something that she thinks she can help with. And then work the problem a little bit, and if it's too big of a problem,
Pat Fuller's
I
still
agree.
selling the stuff, he just won an award. This, Pat's, we should call Pat, you know, he's, Pat Fuller, I'll get you his number. He can make it happen.
I'm not opposed to changing,
I'm not either.
but you know.
Give them an opportunity to
let-
respond. and-
Let's see if they can provide, and let's just have a conversation with the 8 employees too that we're looking at doing that. I know that's on your agenda, but let's, you know, let's.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So you're gonna send her,
I'll reach out and
have her
Paul can
contact,
reach out to his contact,
Okay.
and we'll just see if either of them can help.
have them contact
Yeah.
Tracy.
If they don't satisfy Jessica in short order, move on.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's,
I agree.
I don't want Jessica to spend
No,
no,
exactly.
any
No.
more time than she has to with this.
Yeah, it's a difficult position for her because obviously she can't do anything with them if they don't get a response, and she's in a pickle.
And
my guess is that if there's, you know, Paul's guy, my lady, and then whoever else, apparently there's no, territory.
Right.
And it's just whoever wanders in and can make the deal, makes the deal, and that's not always great either.
That's the regional sales coordinator,
Jim,
April 2025. So he lives in Bethport, so. You know, if he wants to keep this account, he can do the work.
being married to somebody who was a benefit coordinator in a factory that had 300 employees, I could hear all the time how thankless that job was when we had to fight with the insurance company. And even at 300 employees, the insurance companies are not easy to deal with.
All right.
The people who pay the least when you need them the most.
Yeah, when it comes premium time, no trouble.
Well, they want money all the time.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Moving on, SBR, equalization, contract discussion.
At the previous meeting, the Board of Commissioners opened the, bid, and it was asked that that contract be brought back to this board meeting, so, we're bringing it back for discussion and possible approval.
Anybody have,
I wanted to bring it back so everybody had the opportunity to read it, you know, to open the bid, the bid and do it at the same time was pretty tough for me.
Anybody have any discussions, comments, or? Did you guys, I think, Tracy, did you send that attachment out to, with the comparisons?
I had, Tim had emailed me prior to your email,
Okay.
and that was given to me a little while ago, and I was the one that had forwarded it on to you, so I already had it. So, if anybody else wants that comparison, re-emailed, I'll do that. I'll send it out again.
If I remember when Ed was talking, some of the other places like Mason County, they budgeted, you know, 500,000 a year for their, you know, equalization department. You know, and where did the numbers fall with most of them, Craig?
Well, his numbers a lot lower than, you know, some of the comparisons that were used. I think that, like, for instance, I don't know population base in Benzie County, but that was 266,000 plus.
Lake County's at 248, that one was not included on there, in Newaygo,
I know there's been some glitches with the GIS system a little bit, you know, and that probably was created, some of that, when Ed took over the GIS and paid for it himself instead of us having, you know, our own GIS system. There were some things that, you know, it wasn't as easy of a system, but I've had a conversation with both the register of deeds and the treasurer, just a brief thing. I said, you know, how's your relationship with equalization? And both of them told me, our relationship is very good with equalization. If we have a problem, Ed takes care of it. Now, I think I shared that Ed has been in a serious accident, and Ed is in recovery, but Ed told me the day before yesterday, he called and told me he wouldn't be here because of his accident when he was driving home after getting to the airport, coming back from Australia. And he said that he has a friend who was a level 4 assessor in Michigan who just recently retired, or he's going to retire. And he has agreed to come and work with Ed, because Ed has 4 counties. And he said, I'll come in and work with, he's gonna come in and work as long as he needs to. And Ed doesn't think his recovery is gonna be, you know, it's gonna be a while, but not real long. And Ed said that it sounds like he wants to stay on, so if we've gotta be in 2 places at the same time, I've got another level 4 assessor who's gonna work with me hand in hand. You know, there are not very many level 4 assessors in the state of Michigan, and you know, and to have the ability to have 2 of them working for us for the type of money we're talking about, I think we're pretty fortunate.
Yeah, I know it was an increase in price, but that's kind of the way it goes, I guess. Plus we lose the GIS support.
We're paying that in addition to.
Yes, that's 40, when I meant support, he was picking it.
Well,
Yes.
Mr. Hardy, the assessor thing is new to me, but it just seems like as a group, we've just kind of stumbled along with this assessor thing. We put it out for bids, we only got 1 bid. Then we postponed it so that we could look at it. And so I'm thinking if we postpone it again, or we decide we wanted to put it back out on the street, maybe we get no bids, because, you know, you're just kind of jerking the guy around. So to me, I would be in favor of just signing his contract and moving on. I think if he has, whatever his troubles are, I think he's, he's embedded in the industry, somebody's gonna cover for him to make sure his contract is fulfilled. If it isn't, I think he's gonna arrange for somebody to take it over.
And,
But I just think it's time to be,
yeah, he's done a wonderful job and.
get on with it.
Looking at the comparisons for costs for other counties, that
Yeah.
the price is fair, I know.
And I don't
Nobody likes
know,
an increase, but
and if we do shop around for another one and we do get a lower price, then we're gonna go, we don't know who we're getting.
Right.
So you could go through that situation, so that, some of it's still up in the air, so we know what we've got in the past, so
Well,
I don't know the guy, but I just know that,
I think he does a great job, I mean, he's.
and the other thing is, being the senior, senility comes along with that at times, by the way. But being the longest term member here, I can assure you that when we went with Ed, it was because the cost of having our own equalization director and 3 employees down in that office was far, far greater than what this contract is.
I agree.
We couldn't do it ourselves. And Tracy could look back what we budgeted years ago for that, 5 or 6 years, no, it'd be 8 years ago for that.
2016, I believe it was.
One.
Was it 2016, I believe?
Yes, about that. But
Yeah.
you could look at it, because Mr. Whitaker, was that who it was?
Yep, Mr.
That's
Whitaker.
Jim Whitaker. I think he was making over 100,000 himself at that time, as an employee, and then we had 3 other employees in the office.
His current contract expired already, or?
Yes.
It was done a month ago,
The board extended it for another month.
1 month. Yeah, I think,
Yeah, we just gotta roll it over and, if there'd have been anyone that was interested, we'd have gotten a bid. And we didn't get any other bids, even in light of it. And it's done a fine job, and I'll say right now that if Rick and Mary Lou are satisfied, I am.
okay. Yes,
I agree with Joel's sentiment, the stringing along, and, we could find ourselves in trouble if we kick the can anymore. We will say, I think, Ms. Byard has stumbled on a couple of possible vendors, that could provide services, through this process that didn't know about our RFP to begin with. I would be in favor of signing our agreement. I don't like the cost increase, but I also understand costs have increased in the last number of years, and that is what it is. I'm not too concerned about Ed's continuity of service. Like you said, he's talked about retirement a little bit. I would suspect that he's training up one of his employees to purchase his business and probably continue. If he's out with medical issues, I'm sure he's got coverage, kind of like you mentioned. I'm not too worried about that. So I guess I would be in favor of signing the contract, but I also think we need to set a date on the calendar, probably 2 years from now, to, if this is a 3-year contract, we start the process for RFPs a little sooner, so we have more time to compare. I think the comparisons county to county, I think there's far too many, to have a 4-column, spreadsheet to help us compare is not enough information. How many employees, who provides, is there GIS? There's likely probably a 10-column spreadsheet needed to actually compare county to county. So, is it a contractor, is it an employee, is it, but I think, all that to say, I think we Tracy set a date 2 years from now on your calendar to remind us to start investigating this a year out from our contract date. And find out from Mr. Van Rees if he continues, if he's interested in providing an RFP. We've got some notes from this process, we've all learned some things, and then that way we start the process sooner. We're not under the gun, we don't need to kick the can, and we don't need to ruffle feathers with vendors saying, hey, can we extend this another month? Can we extend this another month? So,
And I agree with you, that if we would start the process a little bit early, we might be back in the same position again, but it gives us the opportunity to digest it a little more.
Tim, you hit it exactly on point. But it's hard for us as a board to follow all of those things, and, you know, with you saying, Tracy, just put it in the calendar so it kicks up to us and stuff like that, you know, I'm sure that's the best way to do it, because I can't remember.
I have to do that. Google Calendar is my lifeline. Like, if I remember your birthday, it's because I put it on Google Calendar a year ago. Yeah, sorry.
See, I'm not gonna have any more birthdays.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a good.
Don't say that too loud.